Okay, so basically all I really did is I went to Google, I typed in what I was looking for. This is pretty self-explanatory. Oops, I can't speak today. Pretty self-explanatory chart. Okay, so how do you inherit your DNA? Okay, so here you are, baby, whatever baby you are, Bob or Sarah or whatever. And then obviously you have mom and you have dad. So you get, generally speaking, 50% from dad and 50% from mom. Then you go up another generation. Well, we already know that, since we already spoke here, that we get 50 and 50. You know, mom got mom got 50% from her mom and 50% from her dad. And then the same on the other side. You have dad who got 50% from mom and 50% from dad. Okay, so here is your 100% in one generation. Here is your 100% in two generations. Your 100% in three, 100% in four, and you just keep on going back. Now, what you do is, let's just talk about mom's side or whatnot. So you get 50% from mom. Well, that means you get 25% from your maternal grandmother. Maternal grandfather, you get 25% from your paternal grandmother and paternal grandfather. Well, so that makes up your 100% because, like I said, you get 50% from your father. So, and then he got 50% from his father, who got 50% from his father, 50% from his father, 50% from his father, and you just keep on going back. So, in one generation, 50% of your parents are contributed to who you are. In the second generation, 25% of your grandparents contribute to who you are. So then it goes back into half. So once you make it back to your first great grandparents, so this is your mom and dad's grandparents, you're only getting 12.5%. And then at your second great grandparents, you're only getting 6.25% of theirs. And then half of 6.25, that's what you're getting. And then it goes back another generation. So this chart really shows you everything that you need to know about how you inherit DNA. Because, you know, when you when you have gone back to the third generation, just going back to your great grandparents, you already have eight um eight great grandparents that contributed DNA to you. So, or 16 great great grandparents that contributed DNA to you. And that's where you're getting these mixes. I like this chart because they have like blue, blue for the male and blue for the female, but they're two different colors. And they split all the colors up, and then as you get closer down to who you are, the colors start coming together, and then you get down to, like I said, Baby Bob or whoever's down here. And then, that shows how you get a mix. Well, just by getting back to your second great grandparents, so your grandparents, it really starts to come together to show you an in-depth look about who you are. So, let's say this person over here is, your paternal second great grandfather is from France, and let's go on and say that your paternal second great grandmother is from France too. So you get that France in there, but then you've got, this one, they're from Spain. So this set of second great grandparents are from Spain. Let's go with Irish because of green. Even if all of this right here, let's say all, both sets of the second great grandparents are all Irish. So you have all of these Irish. Well, obviously, if this set of second great grandparents and this set of second great grandparents are Irish, then they are going to have Irish children who is going to have Irish child. But then you have over here, what did I say this was? French. That's right. Okay, so then you have French over here, and then you have Spain here. Okay, so now you have a French mother and father who have a French child. Then you have a Spain mother and father who have a Spanish child. Then you have so now you have a half French, half Spanish child right here. Well, then over here, because you have all of this, that's Irish. So this is 50% Irish. Well, this is only 25%, 25% French, and 25% Spanish, and then 50% Irish. And that's where you come to this. Then you have to look in the other side. Okay, so even if we did, this is all German and this is all Native American. Okay, so then if you have all of this is Native American and all of this is German, then you have, you know, all Native American, all German child. They have half and half. Well, then you're starting to break this down even farther because remember, if we look back up here, we have a child who is 25% French, 25% Spanish, 50% Irish is this child, and then over here you now have a 50% child who is German and a 50% child who is Native American. Okay, well, now you have a 50%, or now you have a 25% German, a 25% Native American, down here. Well, then this is going to even break this down farther. That means you have a 12.5% French and 12.5% Spanish, and then you have the 25% Irish. So now you have a child who is, like I said, 12.5%, 12.5% of, I've already confused myself. The point is that that's how you get down into the mixtures and everything. Well, the difference is, though, is because you don't know what part of DNA you're going to be getting. So, let's go up to another generation. I was very bland here. I didn't break anything up into, this person's French and this person's from Germany and Switzerland and England and Irish and Scottish, and it's how you're made up with all the different generations. So by the time that you get back up and you're just up the fourth generation up here, you have 64 grandparents. Okay, well that means you have 64 grandparents who passed DNA down to their 32 children, who passed DNA down to their 16 children, down to their 8 children, 4 children, 2, and you. So, you may have gotten, 25% Irish and 25% Spanish, and, whatever it is that you got. And then your sibling could have inherited more on the mother's side or whatever, who is German or Native American, I believe I went with. So over here you have French, and on the father's side you have French and French and Irish and Spanish. That's what we went with for the father. So French, Irish, Spanish father. And then over here on this side, you got a German or Switzerland or whatever that is. And then you're Native American. So obviously on your father's side, your DNA is going to get much more diluted if we're putting in more different ancestry histories than if you have over here on your mother's side where you only have German and Native American. And now obviously I'm just talking, obviously you're going to have your own makeup of who you are. So it's going to be different than this. But that's how you figure out. So you've got one person who's being born by these two people who are dad here is French, Spanish, Irish, where mom is German, Native American. That's what I went with, so that's what I'm sticking to. Um, but you have to look at, you have these people who say, my grandma came from Ireland, or my grandma came from England or Germany or whatever. But then you're not looking at just your grandparents. You have to look in. There's migration to every different parts of the world. So even though grandma told you, or no matter if it's your grandma on your dad's side or your mom's side, like a huge one everybody is interested in is everybody has these stories from their parents, and that was passed from their grandparents, that passed from their grandparents, and so on and so forth, and they're all Native American. They're all like, well, my grandma told me that I'm Native American. Okay, well, so you do got this one Native American family member up here. Well, yes, so all of her history, if she's full blooded, the way you're gonna look at that is, oh well, she's Native American. Well, okay, so yeah, this one tiny itty bitty Native American up here, and your 64 other great grandparents, and then you got just saying whatever nationality that all these others are. So, within the 64 grandparents, so when you get your DNA test, then you're like, what doesn't show I'm Native American? Okay. The reason why the likelihood it's going to not show you Native American unless you have a parent who is Native American or even a grandparent who's a Native American, probably even great grandparent. Okay, now you're looking into where those Native American is going to show up into your DNA. But before that, your DNA is getting so diluted. If you've got one Native American great fourth great grandmother all the way up here, you're going to have all these different DNA combinations that's going to come down. So it could happen that you have DNA and then your brother doesn't have it, or you don't have it and your brother has it, or whatever. So it really matters how the DNA is passed down. Problem is you never know. If you get your DNA results back and it doesn't show that that you're Native American in any way, it doesn't technically mean that you're not Native American. That's why you have to have a paper trail, and you have to go back and you have to look and you have to be able to prove your paper trail, because the Native American, which, like I said, for some reason everybody seems to have those stories about how they have some far off ancestor who's an Indian. It doesn't really matter when it comes down to it. If you have DNA, it doesn't mean that DNA is going to show or prove that you are genetically Native American, but it's going to show that you have that Native American if you have a paper trail. So that's why DNA is a really good tool. And using websites like Ancestry or other websites like that, they're really good. But the point is, you need to build a really good family tree. You do not have to use Ancestry.com. I used one in a long time ago. I'm sure it's still around. It's called Tribal Pages. It gets you a nice little tree going. But you have to be able to back everything up. Obviously, DNA is going to show, well, you're French or you're Irish or whatever that is. But when you start getting so far back into 64th great grandparent, 64 great grandparents, and you have one Native American out of there, your DNA is going to be so diluted that the possibility of it ever showing up way down here, it's not good. But like I said, with the paper trail, you can prove that your grandma and your grandma's grandma and whatever, you can prove that they in fact do have Native American ancestry, and that's how you would prove that. Um, some people, like I said, you're going to be able to prove it with your DNA test because either it's closer or for whatever reason, maybe you had more Native Americans in your family history. Therefore, your DNA is going to be less diluted than somebody who has that one up there. But that's basically, like I said, this is a good chart that just shows you how you get the different DNA, how it splits up between 50, 25, 12.5, 6.25, and it just keeps going back. So I hope you enjoy this. Like and share.